Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Zach's Tech Talk Tuesday. My name is Ryan McQueeney, and today we will be talking about the next generation of Apple iPhones, which were first reported on yesterday by Bloomberg. I'm going to keep citing this Bloomberg report throughout. I just want to give proper credit to the publication which kind of first reported this story, got the inside sources, has the scoop on this. We are going to hear officially from Apple in its early September event. If the past has anything to say about it, typically Apple has an early September event for iPhone reveals, and we're almost there. But Bloomberg got the scoop, so I want to make sure we're citing them at all times. This was first published on Monday, and Bloomberg said Apple is going to use this early September event to unveil 3 new iPhones, all of which are seemingly working on the basic framework which Apple established with the iPhone X. So one of these phones, according to Bloomberg, is going to be a record breaker for Apple, as it will feature a 6.5-inch display, making it the largest ever display on an iPhone. There's also going to be a 5.8-inch model, which is the same size as the current iPhone X, along with a more affordable model, which will have a 6.1-inch screen, according to Bloomberg. Bloomberg's report builds on analysts' reports from December of last year, which said Apple would sell 3 new iPhones in 2018. It's kind of continuation of the evidence we've seen before, but it included a few more details on features, including the sizes that I just mentioned before, and the news that all 3 models will have Face ID and will be available in a variety of colors. Bloomberg also shared details on new iPad Pro models, including an 11-inch iPad Pro and a 12.9-inch iPad Pro, which will also both have Face ID and are expected sometime this fall. According to Bloomberg, none of the 3 iPhones will be totally new designs like the iPhone X was last year, or thinking back to the iPhone 6 in 2014, but Bloomberg said that some inside Apple are labeling the launch as an S year, a quote-unquote S year. The S designation is one in which the company has given to new handsets that retain the previous design but work on new internal features. No word yet on whether these are going to be called iPhone XS or anything like that. iPhone XS, we don't know for sure what they're going to be called, but think of the S years where the letter S is literally added to the iPhone's name, and then that's how it's marketed. Of course, there's more than just a name change. There's always feature shifts, as I've mentioned, the ones coming up. But we know what the S year is, so that's basically what we should be expecting. What I found most interesting about the Bloomberg report was its kind of discussion about where this product launch falls in the progression of the iPhone and the progression of the Apple ecosystem. I wanted to share a quote that Bloomberg quoted from Gene Munster, a veteran Apple, what they describe as a veteran Apple analyst and a managing partner of Loop Ventures. Gene said, quote, "The iPhone is entering a period of 0 to 5% annual growth, and the things that they are doing this fall will keep them on that path," end quote. So in other words, this isn't going to blow the doors off of anything, but it's a natural progression based off of the iPhone X and based off of Apple's historical and proposed for the future plan to roll out iPhones. So let's circle back to that ecosystem I just mentioned a second ago. Think about, obviously we know the iPhone is the key thing in the middle of the ecosystem, but think about the Apple Watch, the AirPods, Apple Music. All of these things are not just familiar to iPhone users, they utilize the iPhone. So, your Apple Watch, obviously you want to have an iPhone when you have that. The AirPods are an accessory for the iPhone. The Apple Music is best experienced on an Apple device. As Bloomberg pointed out, Apple now has more than 1.3 billion active devices, and the iPhones which will debut this year are just the latest take on the focal point product. It's kind of speaking to a new strategy in terms of the business model, new within the last couple of years at least, which is to raise the average selling price of the iPhone slowly and kind of moving on from a need to add more new customers. I think Apple has said, we have our audience. This is about as big as it's going to get. So we need to make more money off of the people that are here and that are interacting with and living with this ecosystem on a day-to-day basis. We can see this happening. Apple's total iPhone revenues surged 20% to touch almost $30 billion in the most recent quarter, up from about $25 billion in the year ago period. That was on the back of total iPhone unit sales growth of just 0.7%, nearly 1% there, up to 41.3 million in the most recent quarter. And the large difference between total unit sales growth and total iPhone revenue is going back to exactly what I was just talking about, raising the average selling price for the device. So we know that the iPhone X was criticized for how expensive it was, but sales inched up higher. And since it was a more expensive device, Apple cashed in on a little bit more. We should obviously address the fact that Apple has recently touched the $1 trillion market cap threshold, which we've been talking about them potentially doing all year. They finally got there. It's kind of a bit anticlimactic, I think, just because everyone really expected it. And, nothing new happens. They don't get an award in the mail. They don't get a special prize for doing that. Just life goes on. So one thing I want to say that I think especially in 2018, I can think of it extending into last year as well, but a trend that really, I think, outside of the iPhone itself, the iPhone physical device, but definitely within the iPhone ecosystem, this trend that has helped them surge to the $1 trillion market cap has definitely been the growth of the services business, which features things like iTunes, Apple Care, Apple Pay, Apple Music, which is huge now. That unit in the most recent quarter saw revenue growth of 30%, now reaching almost $9.6 billion in the most recent quarter. That's about 18% of total quarterly revenues. And definitely that 30% plus growth rate is what we've become used to from services over the last few quarters. Really, really impressive growth there. I, as a music fan, tend to lean towards Apple Music as a key catalyst for that, but certainly a lot of different places, Apple Pay, another one, that have just exploded in popularity over the last couple of years. So I just kind of wanted to point those things out, as much as it is the shifting business model for the iPhone itself. It's also about how that shift in the iPhone's business model fits into the larger ecosystem at which the iPhone is the focal point, but in other places, there are other key growth catalysts that are helping the company make history, really. So it's a long roundabout way of saying we learned a lot about what Apple is going to say in its September event, but we didn't really learn much about anything that Apple is doing in the future, in the sense that this, other than the fact that we typically see like 2 new iPhones revealed, a certain size and then a slightly bigger one, and we're getting 3 this time, which is including a more affordable one. That's certainly a new take on an S year reveal. But in terms of what it means for the company and where they are right now, definitely fits the picture that we already had. With that said, I did want to take a second to check in on the earnings estimates and the earnings estimate revisions, because that is the foundation of Zacks Investment Research and Zacks Rank. Apple is currently sporting a Zacks Rank number 3 hold, although I will say its earnings estimate revisions have been largely incredibly impressive, and possibly just being held down from a buy rank by the slightest of margins. So within the last 30 days, 10 positive revisions to its full year 2018 earnings estimates. We're in Q4 for Apple right now. So really looking past that and into 2019, we've also seen 10 positive revisions for fiscal 2019 earnings estimates within that same time frame. We're now looking for earnings growth to round out at about 27% in this current fiscal year. Another 12% expected in the next fiscal year. That's $11.68 in adjusted earnings per share in 2018, and then that would be $13.06 per share in earnings next year if both of those figures hold up. No negative revisions at all within the last 60 days. And then the full year estimate, that 1168 I mentioned on the back of those solid revisions within the past month, has ticked 27 cents higher. Our projection for the next year looks like it's up about 34 cents in that last month time. So definitely a really positive trend for Apple. As I said, we can only have a certain number of Zacks Rank buy ranked stocks, and it's updated every single day. So some of these positive trends do get muscled out at certain times, but we do believe those earnings estimate revisions are a solid indicator. And really, at this point, I feel like everybody understands that if stocks as a whole are moving higher, Apple's going to be moving higher too. It's kind of just this leader of the market, a way to invest in the U.S. consumer economy, the global consumer economy. It's not necessarily always the highest flying stock these days, but it is one that is going to be a bellwether for not only the entire tech sector, but really the domestic stock market as a whole. So yeah, that's what I had to say about Apple. I mean, it's Tech Talk Tuesday, so we're definitely always going to be checking in on the world's largest technology company, the largest publicly traded company in the world. But as a reminder, if you feel that I missed something on Apple, or if you want me to cover a different story, feel free to shoot me an email at podcast@zacks.com. Always check out all of our other audio content at zacks.com/podcasts. And remember to subscribe and leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much for listening to the Zacks Tech Talk Tuesday show. We'll see you next time.